So if you're going to live out in the bush or a remote area like we do, you're going to want to keep certain items with you. In this video, we're going to be going through our budget everyday carry. The reason for this video today is because I see a lot of people in the prepping community have become great eBayers in the last year. All these people saying that they're going to bug out when the fan and stuff, all they did was bug out to Amazon when the time came. We're here to prove that you don't need thousands of dollars worth of kit. We live here every day and we do this for real, and this is what we carry with us. So when it comes to pockets, the main thing I carry every day is a lighter and an emergency backup lighter, because as much as I love bushcrafting and I love bushcrafting equipment, there is nothing easier than using one of these in a pinch. If you keep these warm, you can use these even in the middle of winter. And when it gets as cold as it does here, time is of the essence. You don't necessarily have time to be sat there with your flint steel trying to make a fire when you could just use one of these and get going. Secondly, knife. Can't beat a plain folding utility knife. Get one that locks well, because there's nothing worse than having a knife snap back on your fingers when you're out in the middle of nowhere. Then you got to use your first aid kit. We'll get into that in a minute. A secondary backup knife, just in case you lose the first one or for whatever reason you end up blunting it. But yeah, I can't recommend having more than one blade. Obviously per person. Emma's got these two. We're not talking fancy knives here. This is a $7.99 Husky. It came as part of a set. I bought this back in Ontario while I was working at Pug's place, and I'm still rocking it today. I did break the tip off of the matching pair, but either way, this one's been a reliable knife for the money and still totally does what I need it to do. So before we go any further, obviously these bags aren't presented like this when we're out in the bush. We'd lose half of our equipment that way. This is just purely for the thumbnail, but all of this equipment does fit in these bags, and anything else that doesn't fit in the bags is stuff that needs to be more accessible, and stuff like that stays in my pockets. But without further ado, we'll open these up and show you what we got. These are pretty cool. So you've seen those little portable battery chargers that everybody takes around. These are the same thing, but this panel here is actually a solar panel, so we can charge these on the go, and it's enough charge to keep our cameras, phone, anything like that, recording equipment going for a temporary measure, if nothing else, in the bush. If you're going to rely on your phone, not that we have no cell service here whatsoever, one would have to have a satellite phone to do that, but if you are in an area with cell service and your cell phone could get you out of trouble, I'd recommend this. This actually came from a place called Lidl's in England, which is a cheap supermarket. These were not expensive at all. I don't know if anything else is like this is available right now, but something to look into for sure. We've got two, and probably one of my favorite things that we carry in the bag. Also very durable. I'm thinking at this point it might be easy just to toss everything out across the table here, and we'll go for it one by one.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
So this is just our day-to-day carry. It's for our local area. We do have a bigger bag for further afield that contains rope and firewood too. The firewood part sounds ridiculous, I know. People in this area will tell you that during the winter you can find dry material under the trees to keep yourself warm, and that's true. You can absolutely find the material. But we prefer the idea of being able to ignite a fire immediately and then go and find firewood, rather than being already freezing. I mean, at minus 30, minus 40, it doesn't take long before you can't operate your lighter. You know, like your thumbs or the lighter. Then you got to put it inside, you know, you're trying to heat yourself with your inside layers, your outside temperature's cooling, meanwhile you still don't have a fire. If you've just got a little bit of firewood with you, you can just get one going and off you go. So this is not our adventure bag, this is literally just everyday carry for a local area, anywhere within a day or two's walking distance. But yeah, as you can see, we've got quite a few things in here. It's not what I consider to be a complete bag. I find that every bag I've ever had is something that's always been a work in progress. And like I said, within a month or two, this bag will look completely different again. This here is all mosquito protection. We have two seasons in Chilcotin here. We have winter and we have bugs. Bugs is coming around very rapidly, and I couldn't recommend netting enough. The bug off spray works to a degree, but when you live somewhere where it's just continuous, it's nice to, there's some areas that you go where it's nice to be able to seal yourself up a bit better. We keep everything in Ziploc bags to try and keep everything that needs to stay dry. So this bag is dry and warm. This bag contains Mylar blankets, Mylar tents, ponchos, both disposable and reusable. We've actually used this bag. This bag saved our life down in Vancouver one time when we got caught out in the rain. But Mylar blankets are never to be overlooked. For the insulation value they can provide, they don't take up much space or weight at all. This bag is hungry, and it's exactly that. It's just snacks, all high sugar snacks, high energy snacks. We're talking roasted peanuts, Kendall mint cake, things like that. In the saucepan, we've got a couple of MREs in the bag. We've got a Cajun pasta and a Rio Grande beans. And they're actually pretty good. And if you don't want to pay through the nose for expensive MREs, we've always made do with just the regular pasta meals and stuff that you can get from your supermarkets. It's calories. There's also dry food. They're simple to cook up in a pinch. Raw jelly, not something we seem to see in North America here, but in England we carry this a lot. It's high in energy. It's an easy snack. So we don't carry plates anymore. We used to in the UK. Right now we currently carry 2 bowls, carry some basic plastic cutlery, and we also got a couple of these Swiss Army penknife things that have knife, fork and spoon on them. So we carry 2 medical kits. This is a bought variety, and this is a custom put together one that we've just cobbled together over time. This is where things might get odd. Folding shovel. You'd be surprised at what you could use this for. We've actually used this to dig the truck out when we got it stuck up Grey Creek Pass that one time. It'd take you a while to dig anything much, but the other thing that you can use these for is going to the toilet. You don't have to go to the toilet in the bush and leave it for somebody to stand in. You can dig a little hole and get rid of it that way. That being said, I've noticed there's no toilet paper in the bag right now, but there usually should be a wrapped toilet paper, and by wrapped I mean sealed in plastic so that it can't get wet. Carrying drinking water around here isn't too much of an issue for us. As long as we have a container to put it in, there's plenty of water sources out here that are perfectly drinkable. If you're in another area though, you're going to want to carry water or one of those new Life Straw things. I've seen those, I'm looking into those myself. Basically you can drink from any water source and it comes out filtered and clean. Now it may sound ridiculous, but if you're stuck out and you needed some protein, this is one way you could get yourself some. You keep fishing tackle amongst a few other things in this little tin. There's not a lot in there, but when you live in an area long enough, you get to know what kind of works with the fish out here. And yeah, just a basic cheap reel to go with it. We paid $5 for this thing out of Walmart, and yeah, it's actually surprisingly sturdy. It's a good rod. It'll catch you some fish. So there's a little package that's been put in the bag since COVID. It's my little COVID survival package, if you will. It's a little hand gel, some rubber gloves, and it's mainly in there because when a guy goes to town, you got to take a mask with you. And this mask's awesome because it's got the Sasquatch on it. So this is a rescue balm. You can use this on your lips, on your hands, or anything that dries out when you're out here. As a general rule of thumb, things do get pretty dry here. We don't get that much precipitation. Last few years have been an exception to that rule. Back to heating. This is a 36-hour candle. How that works is it's got 3 wicks in it, and each wick will burn for 12 hours. And if you've got one of those set inside a vehicle, that will keep you warm all night. So this is one of my favorite little gadgets. It's actually a candle lantern, and if you just see inside there's a candle. You light that, and it's actually fed up by a spring, so as it melts it stays in the same position, and this is a little lantern. If you were to develop something that you could sit something over top of this, you could actually cook on it. It gets pretty damn hot. Flashlight or torch, whatever you want to call it, wherever you're from. Don't overlook one of these. I've been caught out in the dark here and it gets really, really dark and you can't see a thing. There's no external lighting, there's no light pollution from the nearest town. I like to carry these Maglite ones because not only are they good flashlight, they're good and waterproof, they're good and tough. These things have been with, this particular flashlight's been with me everywhere. I like to carry these Maglites because not only are they a good flashlight, they're robust, they're waterproof, but they're also a pretty substantial unit, so if you ever needed to use them for something other than seeing in the dark, you could, if you know what I mean. Spare batteries for the flashlight. because there's nothing worse than running out of batteries in the dark. A good compass. We have 3 compasses on us, purely because things go wrong. We've actually had one freeze up on us and blew the glass out of it, blew the water out of it in -40, and then was rendered useless. So now we keep a few. One will stay on a person, and the other 2 can stay in the bags. But even if you don't have a map, if you know roughly where you are, and you know which way you need to go, this thing will save your life. String. Always want a bit of string or something with you. I mean, we've got enough paracord on everything else that, you know, we've got hundreds and hundreds of feet of paracord with us in lanyards, on the bags as handles. I'll show you those in a minute. But yeah, you never know. You can build a shelter out of it. Anything you need. If you needed to splint your leg with 2 sticks. The ability to tie 2 things together is really underrated until you need it. And making cordage is another bushcraft skill, but in an emergency situation, do you really have the time to take when you could have just carried 50 feet in your back pocket? Someone was talking about bag modifications earlier. This is the bag I'm talking about. I've had this bag for years. I picked it up in a market in Camden from an army surplus place. And yeah, it started out with a couple of zips breaking. We were able to repair those by getting the zips back onto their runners and then sewing up in such a way so that they can't return to the broken part. And they seem to be working just fine. But on the bag, there is miles and miles of paracord. Absolutely miles. This is actually my flint steel. I've had this way too long. It's definitely worn out. I very rarely use the magnesium block side, although if you do need it, it's a very effective way of starting a fire. This was a compass our buddy Phil gave us. This actually was one of the ones that cracked in the cold weather, but is still fully functional. All the grab handles are doubled up with paracord. There's another spare flashlight because you can never have too many. So actually my favorite modification of this bag is on this side strap. The clip broke on it, the clip that it came with originally, so I've replaced it with this. What this is the same kind of clasp, but it incorporates a couple more survival tools. It's got a whistle in it, a little tiny button compass, and actually the middle of the clasp here is a flint steel and striker. This here is a bag of tinder and kindling. It's all nice and dry, and it's all sealed up out of the wet. This is the difference between being able to get a fire going and not. And there's enough to get 3 or 4 fires going there easily, and that's guaranteed fires, you know, like there's no messing around with wet sticks or what you can find. Much as I love bushcrafting and stuff, I wouldn't like to have to solely rely on it in a survival situation when I could get away with carrying a bag and making my life so much easier. So quite often people ask us about personal protection with regards to predators out here. We do not carry a firearm. I do not have a firearms license. We do have a can of bear spray. We do also carry the True Flare bear bangers. One of my favorite methods this year has been the boat klaxon. These are relatively inexpensive and they are available in 2 sizes. So we have a big one, and then we have this cute little mini one for in the mini bag. As you can tell by the volume of those things, they'd be pretty effective at deterring predators and also to signal people where you are in an emergency situation. Rolls of tape. Never underestimate what you can fix with tape. I like electrical tape because I also find it good for dealing with injuries. So this is where our fishing equipment stays. This is a piece of bike inner tube that holds it shut. It's just a small tin. In here I have a commando saw, which is a super coarse wound up piece of wire. You can use this for cutting through wood. In this tin inside of it, we got a few fishing weights, a hook, some line, and a little glow stick, just in case you ever needed it. There's even a little fake rubber worm in there. Condom, another water carrier if you need it. You put one of these inside a sock and you can carry 1 or 2 liters of water really effectively. Towel. You get this thing wet, it folds out into a small flannel towel thing, and then you've got something to clean yourself with. A little book of hotel matches. Last but not least is a flare gun. When you're in an area where flying a helicopter around every square mile of it to try and find somebody is not an option, it's always a good idea to have some sort of signal flare or something with you. We carry a regular boating flare, and we've never had to use it, but it's there if we do. So there you go, there's the entire contents of our everyday carries. As you can see, there's probably less than $200 or $300 in the entire bags, and there's enough to support 2 people in here for a few days. We really appreciate you watching the videos, and if you stuck it out this long, we appreciate that even more. If you like the video, give us a thumbs up. If you haven't already, maybe think about subscribing. And if you've got any questions, leave a comment down below. Well, that's going to be it for another video. It's time for me to walk back to the cabin. Thanks for coming with us once again. Huge love, and I will catch you all on the next one. Cheers.